Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Huddy Hui, episode 109, our first of two episodes this week, and it's also a busy week as well with two live streaming games on as well, but we'll get to those later. Well, our first guest of the week is bringing up his 100th Premier game, even though they did change the rule to 50 this year. He probably will be presented as Blazer this weekend. Jamie Fairmaid is our guest on the Huddy Hui, bring out 100 games. Jamie, how has the week been for you so far, knowing the fact that this is going to be your 100th Premier game as a referee?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Brad. The week hasn't really been too different so far. I'm sure it will get a little bit busier once, we kind of formally announce it later on in the week. But look, so far so good. Been pretty calm, pretty relaxed about the whole affair, which is good.
And when did you know that you were going to be down for your 100th this weekend?
I refereed my 99th a couple of weeks ago, and me and the family are off to Brisbane next weekend for King's birthday weekend. So I kind of gave our standards and assessments a bit of a heads up, being like, hey, look, I would like to hit this milestone before I head overseas. So it was either going to be last weekend or this weekend, but this weekend was the appointed weekend, which, I'm looking forward to.
Now, when was your first Premier game as a referee? What was the experience like for you, and do you remember the result of the match?
So my first Premier game was back in 2015, some time in July. I can't remember the exact date. And it was Paraplum versus Petone Beats. So that was back when the Harden Cup used to take the two best senior first teams into the Premier competition. And Paraplum were winners of that game 24-7. And that was played at Ngāti Taura Domain. So it was kind of a nice full circle moment, refereeing my first game of rugby at Ngāti Taura, to then refereeing my first Premier game at Ngāti Taura too.
99 matches so far. What are the challenges you face as a Premier referee?
I guess for me, I always want to try and better myself every week and become the best referee that I can be. So I guess for me, it's just staying on top of my game and making sure that I prep well every week, and take on board the learnings that I've had from previous weeks. Sometimes you don't want to try and take those learnings on board, depending on how well the game goes. But there's learnings from every game, and whether it's good or bad, is try and take them on board, pick apart the good things, and then take them into next week. And I think over the 99 games so far, I've done an all right job of that.
And you mentioned the word preparation. Let's talk to us through your preparation during the week. What does it involve in preparation leading up to a Saturday?
So we find out our appointments on the Monday generally, and so the prep work starts effectively there, signing off the previous week's game review with my coach, John Bellinghall, and kind of making sure that stays there. Doing some video review, looking at patches of the two teams that I'm going to referee the coming week, just to see what trends have been a part of those games. Preparing a plan on what I want to achieve out of the game, and then just getting in touch with my assistant referees on a Thursday night, letting them know kind of what I expect from them, and making sure that we create solid communication, so that way we can be the best team possible. And then come Saturday, I always like to make sure that I spend a bit of time with the family in the morning, make sure the wife is happy enough by letting her go out and do something if she wants to, and then come midday on a Saturday, I'm ready to leave the house and go do the job.
It's interesting you mentioned about you have a coach in John Bellinghall was also a former Premier referee. We used to rugby coaches, but what does a referee coach actually do besides sitting watching a laptop in Fiji?
Yeah, JB's had some really nice locations to watch some rugby in this year. He week 2 when the weather wasn't too great. I was at, funny enough, Evans Bay Park, and yeah, he was away in Fiji. Oh, I don't actually think it was Fiji or Samoa, but it was somewhere tropical with a nice cocktail in hand and sunshine. But I guess to the point of your question is for us at a premier level, a referee coach is a little bit different to each person. Each referee will kind of have what they want to work on and what they're trying to achieve. So, like for example, me and JB are working on the mental side of my game. So understanding how I deal with pressure and what happens to my brain when certain instances happen in games. Other referees might work really hard with your coaches on scrums or positioning at tackle ruck or whatever that looks like. But the lower you go down the grades, it becomes more effectively coaching a referee. So, hey, look, think about standing here. What was your picture at this tackle ruck? All that kind of stuff.
And when did you become interested in rugby refereeing? I believe it was from quite a young age.
Yeah. So I played junior rugby at Paraplum. And when I was at primary intermediate school, Rangikura, the kids like to play rugby at lunch, as you do. And the teachers never let us play tackle unless someone refereed it. And I was the kid that got roped into it because my dad was a referee. And so after leaving to go to Wellington College, I kind of walked through the gates there and saw how big some of these boys were. And I was thinking to myself, man, I don't think I want to play rugby anymore. Maybe I'll give refereeing a go. And yeah, kind of just started from there pretty much.
And you mentioned your father, a family connection in rugby refereeing. Mark, of course, is the president of the association. Tell us about the Fairmaid family and Wellington Rugby Referees.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a part of the association for many years. Current president, he's very well known in the rugby circle. He's part of the WRBFU board, and so having someone like him around has been pretty nice. But he never really pushed me into refereeing. In fact, he tried to talk me out of it when I first started. But the stubbornness in me, and probably get that a little bit from him, really wanted to give it a crack, and we're here now.
That's the main thing. And of course, let's go back to your first ever game of rugby you refereed, official game of rugby. What age were you at the time, and what grade and teams were they?
I can't remember exactly what teams it would have been, but it would have been under 12s, under 13s, down at Ngāti Taura Domain. And I would have been 13, so that would have been 2005. And yeah, it was a pretty rough introduction to refereeing, to be honest. I didn't do very well. I wasn't very good. Well, as good as I thought I was. And I actually cried afterwards. But, we stuck in there, and I'd like to say I haven't cried since after a game of rugby, but I'd be lying.
Now, of course, you mentioned very much many like us, myself being a former rugby referee, we're no good at playing. Was Parramatta Plymouth in your junior club?
Yeah. Played there from age of 5, 6, and until I left to go to college at the age of 13.
Now, you mentioned you went to... Oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, I was just going to say, though, I wasn't the most talented. I made a couple of rep teams, but nothing further than, your local club rep teams.
Yeah, so you went to Wellington College as a student. Won't hold that against you. But tell us about your time there at Wellington College in particular. Who are you picking tomorrow, Wellington College or St. Pat's Town?
Oh, there's only one team to choose there, Brad. Wellington College all day, every day. Look, I really enjoyed my time at Wellington College. They fostered a really good refereeing relationship for me, and got to be involved in some really cool stuff there. And back when I was there, Wellington College was one of the dominant schools in first 15 rugby. In fact, I think we only lost one of the years that I was there. And so I actually played a year in 2008, and I went and trialled for the first 15 just for laughs, and came up against some very serious players, Lima Sabonga, just to name a few, and realised, I'm not cut out for this level. Let's go play weight grade rugby, and went and played under 65s, and I weighed 64.5 kg. I was the biggest first five in the grade. It was great running over the top of people, because I'd never ever do that again. But it was good to represent Wellington College, even just at a low level.
What has been the most challenging game you have refereed, and what did you learn from that experience?
The most challenging game of rugby I've refereed, one immediately springs to mind, was a premier game between Johnsonville and Paraplum. I'm saying Paraplum a lot in this on this podcast, but
connection. Yeah, there's Emma behind me too.
So. Yeah, but I gave out 4 yellow cards in the space of 20 minutes. And a lot of that came down to just me losing control of my head, and not picking up on certain trends from players and key players in the match. Me getting frustrated and venting out that frustration onto the rugby field towards the players, which then created bad attitudes, and then bad outcomes in terms of the game. So that was a big learning point for me, going, hey, look, no matter what happens on the pitch, you're the one that still needs to stay level-headed. You're the one that still needs to take control. And one thing that we always like to say as referees is control your controllables. And that day I didn't. And was a big shock.
And you mentioned about the mental side of the game, and also in relation to that game you said was your most challenging. Refereeing is a lot like management, particularly in any sort of job place, but how did you build this into your refereeing, or change it in that instance in regards to that game you just mentioned?
Refereeing is, especially at our level, is kind of like buying currency. I can't remember who told us this many years ago, but you've got to buy currency with players, so that way when it comes time that you need something from them, you can kind of cash in that currency. So building relationships with your key players, so your captains or key figures within the side, being honest with them, being open with them, being open to talking with them, so that when it comes time that repeated infringements or anything like that, and you're pulling the captain out, you can talk to them on a nice, calm level, get the clear information that you want across. Hey, look, too many in this area. We need the behaviour to change, and you're more likely to get positive outcomes from players, because you're working hard with them. They trust you. You've got a really good relationship, and they go, yeah. They know you're not trying to attack them. Because when you don't have currency with them and they're frustrated at you, when you try and tell them to do something, they're just going to tell you to bugger off effectively.
You're known for being quite eccentric on the rugby paddock, especially when you're running the touch. Tell us about some of your funniest moments while refereeing.
Specifically relating to ARing, two kind of spring to mind. One was a quadrangular game. I can't remember the year, but it was Wellington College and Nelson, I think it was, or Christchurch Boys, one of the two. And the play was going down the field, and they tried to do a skip pass, and it just landed comfortably in my arms, and then having to put the flag up while holding the ball. It was back when Sky were just starting televising college games as well, so it was live on Sky. So everything was kind of all eyes on me, trying to stay under the radar, but unfortunately not doing so. And then the second one was from a few years ago, Wellington Hawke's Bay NPC game, the quarterfinal back in 2002. Hawke's Bay make a massive break downfield, and once again, ball goes to try and go wide, completely misses the player, and comes directly at me, and I have to try and jump out of the way to miss the ball, so that way I'm not touching it, so that way it allows Wellington to still have the opportunity to go quickly, but it looks awful. Looks really awful. And funny enough, I'm pretty sure both those referees were actually Ben O'Keefe, so maybe Ben O'Keefe is my my sore spot in terms of things that go wrong in AAR.
You're well known for being taken out while refereeing. Is that just bad luck or bad positioning?
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah,
probably a bit of both.
Now,
the one game where I got knocked out. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. The one where I got knocked out was a Jubilee Cup game between Petone and Paniki at Kilburney Park, and the ball got turned over really quickly, and I went to change my positioning and accidentally met the shoulder of Dylan Williamson, and he's built pretty solidly. My head isn't, and I suddenly went to the ground. That wasn't a very fun time, but that was just probably more unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably never going to get old, that one, Jamie, is it? So, yeah, well, tell us about that day, because you actually tried to continue on, and there's so much awareness around concussion on players, but refereeing that took a big toll on you that day.
Yeah, I initially felt okay. My memory of a lot of it isn't there, and a lot of my memory is just literally based on people telling me exactly what happened. But I went to make a decision at maul time, which was completely irrelevant and incorrect. And as soon as I blew the whistle, I knew immediately that my head wasn't in the right space anymore. And that I wasn't going to be good for these two teams, and made the decision to walk off the game, which wasn't an easy decision to make. But for the betterment of the game, it was the right one. And to be fair, not long after that, I wasn't in a good state either. So I definitely did the right thing.
Now, of course, in Premier Rugby, there's many highlights and achievements, but what is the highest game of Premier Club footy you have done in Wellington?
I'd say there's two games that have been I would consider the highest games of rugby that I've done. I've refereed a couple of Jubilee Cup semi-finals, and they're awesome games to be a part of. Great atmospheres, two very close games of rugby, and certainly some games that will live strongly in my mind. But the other one that I say is probably the other highest game is McBain Shield. I did the McBain Shield back in 2020. Yeah. And, packed Petone Rec, terraces loud, everyone's around you. The pace of the game is at another level, and two clubs that, no matter how they're performing during the Swindale Shield, they'll give everything for that game rugby. And it is such a good game to be a part of. So A lot of us referees look to that game as kind of like a final of a Swindale Shield. It's the game that a lot of us look forward to and want to be a part of at least once, whether it's as an AR or a referee. And I'm lucky enough to have AR. I actually only refereed a McBain Shield. I don't think I've actually AR'd one. So,
may still be time. Now, of course,
probably.
Some of you have the opportunity to officiate at representative level. Have you done so, and if so, to what level?
Yeah, so I was a part of the Hurricanes Youth Council squad for 4 years, I think it was. And that means that I was able to referee the Hurricane Schoolboys final back in 2018 between Hastings and Napier on McLean Park, actually, which was a great game of rugby. But outside of that, I've also done Wellington B, Tasman B, Wellington B, Canterbury B, which are stacked with NPT level players, and they're also awesome games to be a part of as well.
You mentioned earlier in the episode you have a young family. How do you juggle that time between refereeing and family?
Depends who you talk to. Look, you're never going to get it right. I think it is a hard juggle. Refereeing at a premier level is time consuming, and all the extracurricular stuff outside of refereeing that I'm a part of as well, and within the association. I think for me and the family, it's just around communication and making sure that we're all on the same page about what I'm doing and what things and what time things are needed, and just also giving my wife and my son adequate time as well, time with them, also adequate time for my wife to go do the things that she wants to do as well. I'm not perfect. I'll get it wrong, but we make it work, and yeah, I'm lucky to have her.
And what do you do outside in terms of work?
I'm a mortgage advisor, which is a great time to be me.
It certainly is. Now, I believe that's not always in the office, though. You actually do a bit from home, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm about 50-50 in the office. So I work for a company called Squirrel. We recently merged with the home loan shop here in Wellington, so I finally now have a base of operation. A couple of rugby heads in the office there as well, so it's always good to go on there and talk a bit of code. One of them being Bernie Upton, former Chiefs and Hurricane? Pretty sure he played Hurricanes. Yep. So yeah, it's always good to scratch his mind. He's coaching in and around Wellington as well.
You've also officiated another sport, that is being football. Tell us about the similarities and differences between the two styles of officiating in rugby and football.
Yeah, so I part own a small share in a football company here in Wellington called Better Football. We specialise in 7-a-side and 11-a-side summer tournaments, but we've just recently started doing a winter 11-a-side league, which has been really successful. In terms of officiating football, other than the laws, the expectations from the players are pretty similar, and I know a lot of football players really like me as a referee because I talk a lot. I try and talk to the players and manage them and tell them what I'm seeing, and based on what I hear from them, they don't really get that a lot from football referees. I don't know whether that's true or not, or whether or not they just decide to listen to me and not to others. But yeah, it's the same as refereeing rugby. You're managing people and managing a game and trying to make the game flow as much as you possibly can and make correct decisions at the time that you need to do it. And you're never going to get it right. But as long as you're honest and work hard, the players appreciate you for it.
Rugby referee numbers are down across the country, especially in Wellington, where some college grades recently did not have an appointed official. And there were some instances where referees were having to do 3 games on a Saturday what could be done to grow the referee numbers in Wellington and also across the country?
Look, that's the $1 million question, right? I don't think anyone's got the magic wand to really go out and solve the number of referees that we have. But I mean, what I do say to people is that, come and give it a go. You know, you think you can see it all well in a Super Rugby game, but come and actually give it a go. We're a great association. We've got people that are willing to help you at every level. Us level 1 premier guys and level 2 guys and girls, are there to help as well. If you're scared about failing, don't be scared, because we'll be there to pick you back up and help you learn and make you feel confident that you are doing the right things and that you have an environment where it is safe to learn. And I think that's what I think that's where a lot of people are probably scared, is that they're scared to get things wrong, or they think it's a little bit easier from the armchair. And I guess the other side to it is probably the abuse. People are probably scared to get abused. You don't get a lot of abuse. You might have some comments that are shouted on the sideline, but you don't really hear them. In fact, you probably don't hear them most of the time. You're too focused on what you're doing. And as long as you can go out there and give kids a game of rugby and people a game of rugby, they're going to be thankful for you at the end of the day. So, yeah, if there are anyone watching out there, I just say give it a crack. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with me. I'm happy to have conversations with people. My dad's very happy to have conversation with people and make things work for you as well. If you're worried about time, if you can only do afternoons, we can accommodate. If you can only do mornings out at Kilburnie, we can accommodate. Like, if there's a way to make it work in your life, we can generally accommodate.
And you mentioned, I'm very much aware of that, not really knowing about what's been said most of the time when you're out there refereeing, but there are the odd occasions where it does get outside that zone. And recently, Southland Rugby this week sent out a message in its community about referee abuse over the weekend, which was pretty high levels. Do you think that the protection of referees could be improved, and if so, how?
I think it's a hard question to answer. Like, we try and appoint most people to have coaches if the resources are available, so you never feel like you're alone, and that's a little bit of protection there as well. But the association is really good at backing you as well. If you've had issues with people, supporters, managers, staff, coaches, players, whoever that might be, we'll have you back. So I think an open dialogue between the association and the rugby clubs can help with that. Better relationships with rugby clubs can also help with that. Better understanding about what referees do and how we learn. People tend to forget that referees don't practice on a Tuesday and a Thursday like most. Will go out and actually referee and practice on a Tuesday and Thursday like most rugby teams do. So the only time that we really get to practice whatever we're doing is actually on a game on Saturday. Other than watching footage or reading a law book or going down to an empty park and running around it. Whenever we do something one Saturday, the only time that we get to actually practice it is on the next one. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that. So, I don't know, in a roundabout way, I guess just better understanding from clubs, the association, people around actually who we are. I mean, we don't want to get things wrong, but we are human, and that's just going to happen.
That's exactly right. Now, of course, coming back to this weekend, your 100th game, how is the Referees Association recognising your achievement this weekend?
So I'll get my blazer. So we recently changed the amount of Premier games that you needed to obtain your blazer from 100 to 50, which I think has been a fantastic decision for our association. And so I decided that I'd wait until my 100th game before getting my blazer. I was close anyway, that it didn't really make too much of a make too much of a difference for me. So we're going off to one of our major sponsors, Joe's Garage, to celebrate after my game, and after I head off to the club rooms for a beer with the players. So yeah, be awarded my blazer and have a good night after that. So which I'm looking forward to.
Now, of course, your fixture this weekend, the home side Marist St. Pat's taking on Parramatta Plymoughton this Saturday. Your thoughts on this game is, when you look at both sides, it's a must-win as they head into round 8 of the competition.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have both MSP and Paraplum. MSP came out of the gun this year, winning 4 from 4, and have had a stumble the last couple of weeks, which, you know, that they've had quite a few players leave their club, and they're quite a young team with a new captain and a new coach. And I think they're going in the right direction. And I had them in pre-season, and I thought they'd have a couple of stumbling blocks early on. Didn't kind of expect them to go 4 from 4, but they are a good team. They've got quite a good players. They've got a good forward pack, got a good back line. You know, and some weeks it just doesn't work for you, and that's just rugby. Paraplum, we all know what they did last season. It was unbelievable. They've got a good pack as well, really good forward pack, great back line with loads of talent. So I'm expecting a close game of rugby where both teams will want to try and get good forward ball and dominate the set piece, so that way they can have a good platform for their backs. But yeah, I mean, both teams' forward pack are just as good as their back line, so I wouldn't probably expect half of the forward packs to try and do something special as well.
What does the future hold for Jamie Fairmaid and rugby refereeing after your 100th game?
It's a good question, Brad. Look, I'm keen just to get to the end of the year, and see what that looks like. This is close to my 20th year of refereeing, and so, you know, that's a long time, and it's a lot of time and blood I've given to the association as well, and I'm proud of what we've done as a club. So, you know, we'll see what the end of the year brings, and see how the body is, see how the family is, and then go from there, pretty much. I'll never stay away from refereeing. It's always going to be there. It's in my blood. But, you know, maybe a year or so off. Who knows?
Jamie, it's been fantastic having you on the Huddy Hui tonight. All the best this Saturday for your 100th game. Go well.
Thank you very much, Brad.
That is Jamie Fairmaid, Premier Referee, bring up his 100th game this Saturday. Now, of course, let's look at some of the other things that are happening tomorrow. We're bringing you 2 events tomorrow. Of course, the first of these games is going to be the traditional between Wellington College and St. Patrick's College Wellington, or Town as they're effectively known. And this is also when the first traditional of the year, but also the first game of the Wellington First 15 Premiership for 2024. We found our 10 teams in the competition: Silverstream, Scots, Wellington College, St. Pat's Town, Hibs, St. Bernard's sneaking back in, Wairarapa College, Rongotai, and Paraparaumu College are in there as well. So that makes for an exciting competition indeed, going from Masterton all the way over to Patapararumu and right down to Evans Bay Park in Wellington. So it's a massive competition, this one, and this game here in particular is going to be an almighty match. If the weather's going by anything tonight, and also what it's going to look like tomorrow, this could be a game for the forwards. So our coverage on Huddy Sports YouTube for this game will start at 12:50 p.m. with kick-off at 1 o'clock, and unfortunately you won't be hearing me for that game. I can't get out of work, so Adam Julian and Ollie Mickey, who's also a Premier Referee and a Wellington College old boy, will be bringing you coverage of this traditional tomorrow afternoon. Now also tomorrow night at 8 o'clock is going to be our second Huddy Hui, episode 110, and he was supposed to come on last week, but last Wednesday he was feeling a little bit crook, but he's feeling a lot better now. The captain of the Wellington Axemen, Will Cosgriff, is coming on the Huddy Hui tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. and that's also going to be on Huddy Sports YouTube, so make sure you tune in for that one. And just a reminder, our episode tonight with Jamie Fairmaid, alongside tomorrow's episode of the Huddy Hui, will also be uploaded to Spotify and iHeartRadio either tonight or tomorrow evening for the 110th episode, so keep an eye out for those. Now, as always, we would like to thank our sponsors as well, Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited and Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers. They do a sterling job supporting us, so if you're looking for any plumbing or drain laying work, give them a shout, and also Louise Reddy for any travel advice. And as always, we're ever growing here, and we're always on the lookout for sponsors to keep not only our productions free on Huddy Sports YouTube, and particularly our broadcasts, but helps us to pay for our cameraman and other resources that we need to as well. So head along to huddysports.co.nz or to our website, or our Gmail actually, huddysportsnz@gmail.com. Well, that has been the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to Jamie Fairmaid coming on, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock for the traditional live on Huddy Sports YouTube, and also Huddy Hui episode 110 at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I am Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.